Greetings, sir and sirettes, and welcome back to Banished with me, Lathrix, and of course, welcome back to Trident Village, our most recent venture into our expansion of Latsburg. In today's episode, we are going to be continuing where we left off in the previous episode, all those many days ago, almost a week in fact since I last recorded, and we're going to attempt to finally make this area complete, as I have one final plan before this series comes to a close. I want to create a huge logging or farming island in what's left of the actual lake itself. I was going to put it over here, but I think over here will kind of connect all of the outskirting miniature, areas together, making them all a little bit more efficient. But first, I would like to discuss what happened off camera in the meantime between episodes. It turns out, tornadoes are still a thing even in the mod. We all expected this, we all knew this, but for some reason I had been spared that wrath for quite some time. Until recently. A tornado tore through this area, destroying a lot of the stuff you see in front of you, which I simply repaired, and killing over 400 people. This was not ideal, as well my population completely crippled, and it was the slowest repopulation effort I had ever seen. It took literally hours of just letting the simulation run, constantly putting people back in the food supply, then the tools, then there was a minor tool issue because I didn't have enough miners. It wasn't a very nice thing to watch or see, so although I did actually record an episode of that, I decided it was best to leave it into the dark recesses of my mind and never speak about it again. Until now, but then never again after that. But yeah, today, finishing off Trident Village, and I want to make this area a little bit more efficient, as what I've noticed is, most of the gatherers' huts, the herbalists, the hunting cabins, and most importantly, the foresters' lodges are very inefficient here, because of course there's nowhere nearby to get food and supplies from, so I constantly see people walking around the major areas. So that's going to change today. We're going to be adding a central market along with a few other of the stalls, I think they're called, the smaller markets. What are they called? If I were a thing, what would I be called? Yeah, they are the stalls and the carts. We'll be adding those around here, and a few more houses, just so people can actually work here more efficiently. We haven't put down as many houses as I first thought, so hopefully this area will, do a bit better than it is currently, which is absolutely terrible. So to start off with, we're actually going to do something a little bit different, and we're going to once again add a new dense orchard, as I added a dense orchard a while back, but simply wasn't too happy with this placement. Now we're going to take up this whole space. We're going to be quite inefficient with this. I understand the sizes and everything will, do matter a lot when it comes to orchards, but I would rather just have one super orchard here, honestly. A 30 by 30, there we go. That will house so many trees and have so many jobs. It will allow us to have a lot more houses around here and be quite efficient that way. So I'm going to allow the simulation to run once more. We're currently building one more blacksmith, which I'll just stop him working there. We'll allow the simulation to run once more. We are currently losing population. There we go, slowly going down after our recent peak after the rebuilding efforts. So I'd like to see where this actually goes down to, as that does cause a little bit of concern as people go out of jobs. And I want to make sure that everything is still staffed after we hit the minimum population. Well, now I'm recording, it's only fair that the diseases and plagues hit our village once more, this time in the form of dysentery, because who doesn't love one of the most disgusting diseases of all time? Oh, please don't go to it. Go to the hospital. I mean, admittedly, you wouldn't get symptoms straight away, but I doubt the game would call it an outbreak until you're, at least symptomatic, I would imagine. That's it, go to hostel, left, no, that's south, no! Yes. No again, yes, that's it, good girl, okay, fantastic. Sadly, of course, we did learn the lesson before that having hospitals next to main roads is a terrible idea, because people walking past very rarely actually get sick, which is kind of terrible, actually. Anyway, ignoring the illness, the marketplace over here is done, and we've placed down the foundation for a few new houses and other such buildings. The market's already filling up, and I instantly noticed our log storage going up a lot faster. So over the course of only a couple of in-game months, the log storage is going way faster than before. A few more buildings have been finished over here, nothing amazing, and we are continuing, although our population, of course, is continuing to decline. So going back to food. There we go. Continuing to decline. Eventually we'll hit a point where the village self-regulates, with people dying off from a house, then the youngsters, who are now adults from other houses, going into that house, making their own family, and you get the idea, and the cycle continues. But that is a fair bit away. I'd imagine we're probably going to lose a good 300, if not more, people before that actually happens. The actual plateau stage is always so much lower than the maximum population, it's kind of ridiculous. Even the cows become infected. It really does seem like there's a curse. As soon as anyone starts recording this game, everything gets a lot worse, a lot faster. Okay, so with the standard pasture, I do want to just quickly show one thing, as a few people did ask previously, and I'm not very good at explaining myself in the textual medium. So you see in front of you, this little pasture is infected, and apparently accompanied by really happy sounding music, so rather than absolutely destroy the pasture or do anything over the top, what you do is you order it to have the pasture removed. You then wait for about 5 or 6 seconds, faster of course if you're in times 10. Eventually it'll simply go away and you reclaim and start working once more. Nothing is lost. There we go. Although occasionally, if there is a spare pasture somewhere, like over here, the cows will migrate to that pasture which is currently healthy, so that's absolutely fine. This pasture is now full, whereas that pasture has just lost some of its cows, which are now going to go on a long walk all the way over. Let's watch it in a slower motion so it's not at like 10 FPS because of the massive population currently. That is so... I love how animals move in this game. They just don't care about the terrain in the slightest. Going through the ocean or huge lake, that's absolutely fine. I mean, it's preferable than walking on the bridge, which you're going to warp over anyway. How do we have someone who's homeless? Get a job. Ooh, you're really unhealthy. Perhaps you were one of the ones that got infected. About 3 or 4 people got infected in the end. Or it could just be the fact we've got so little medicine, honestly. We're even low on luxuries. Oh, that's because I'm starting to try the luxuries. Yeah, I need to start doing a lot more of the little things like the luxuries and the herbs. Things which I kind of neglected when I was regrowing the little village of ours. Is that a cow underneath the boat? The great migration of the cattle. Seen only once every few hundred years, this magnificent event is brought on by times of hardship and infestation. Moo. I almost want to watch them. Okay, let's fast forward. Incoming Loth Rhymes. I just need to see them get there now. I've watched them the entire way for no reason whatsoever. We may as well see the cows. Those brave cows making it all the way over here to eat the luscious grass of Trident Village. Over the course of the rebuild, it really did occur to me the value in trading. Things like wine, mead, pearls, and occasionally even gold can really help out. Because although the trade value isn't really that perfect, and sometimes the stuff you trade seems more worthwhile and has so much more effort involved in creating, it's the size and the amount of labour force needed to create it that you really need to take into consideration. Mead, wine, and pearls have just bought this entire load of food, and that's around about, I think, yeah, 90%, so that's many thousands worth of food, which is absolutely wonderful. And of course this is all being done automatically. Each of them have their own automatic purchases, and things like logs and tools, hence why we have over 1,000 currently, are constantly now flowing into the village, along with extra food to make sure if any big catastrophe happens again, like the tornado, we'll be covered a little bit better and I won't have to take such drastic such drastic measures as I did last time. Once in a while, a very sad thing occurs. A person gets stuck on an island for absolutely no reason and slowly starves to death, not realizing there is a very good possibility they could make it over the tiny stream. Even worse so, occasionally that person gives birth whilst on the island, and apparently we have a 0-year-old child with the mother currently on the island. That's really dark and really horrible. Thanks, Banished AI. Well, our population is starting to increase once more. According to the graphs, we did hit a very subtle plateau for a very short amount of time. But of course, it's really hard to figure out how large our population will be in the future when I'm still expanding in so many places. Trident Village is still having houses built over here in the forested area. 5 more houses have been built since the last clip, and there are houses everywhere, being either rebuilt or built in every nook and cranny of the village. So right now, it's so difficult to actually figure out what we're going to look like in the future in terms of our population number. Most likely, what I'll be trying to do now is stopping the flow of new jobs, stopping many more industrial things, more farms, more everything else, and just focusing on more houses and a slower progression into more people for the village. This way I can simply allow the simulation to run after the video's over and try and figure out where we will be. It's quite a weird thing to do, but honestly this is why a much slower expansion style is a lot smarter, as it's easier to tell just where you are in terms of how many people you're going to have, how many jobs will actually be taken, how much space you need for them. I mean, look at all these farms currently not being used, and just all sorts of stuff like that. A lot of economics which I'm not really used to, but still the important thing is I'm having fun and slowly growing out. Well, as our population continues to slowly grow with the labourers dying off and lots of new children being made, sadly causing a load of students to be kind of accumulating at the moment, let's get started on the island, because just look how much space is being wasted currently. So one big problem with the tool is that you do have to keep doing this every time, or else this just sort of stays here. Now, I do have one idea which I think I will be doing, and that's rather than trying to make it look natural, I'm going to try to make it look as artificial and created as possible. It certainly seems like a decent thing to do, and maybe it will even work, who knows? Perhaps it will look beautiful, perhaps it will look absolutely devastatingly bad. The only way to find out, of course, is to simply try. That's weird, they kind of link into each other. Not so sure about that. I do kind of loathe using these sometimes. They are a little bit on the, not on the glitchy side, but on the non-intuitive side. Okay, there we go. Excellent. Of course, I don't really want to unpause the game to actually let them load. That's the problem. So let's slow it down to minimum, and let's carry on. I thought I just said someone's died of starvation with 93,000 food currently available. That would be a little bit weird. Saying that, we did just lose the 2 people over on the island, which is like one of the most morbid and sad things that can happen, but there we are. Is this working? There we go, that was weird. Took longer than expected. Okay, maybe just longer than expected is a thing today. So how are we going to do the corners? We could just do the regular sharp turn, which I think might be the best option, not too sure. Honestly, let's go with the outer piece for a second. Could do outer then inner, of course. Like we did before, that probably will look a little bit better, perhaps. Let's wait until it loads back in. There we go. Yeah, I was thinking have it like that and then go back to being all the way on the outside, but actually that would be quite difficult as well, so no, we won't do that. Let's hope that this can actually be deleted. It can. Excellent. So I think for this, just the perfect square, probably would be best just to go with the a little bit boring, but the sharp option there. Doesn't really matter too much if we do cut in a little bit more so than the other side, because it will all be hidden anyway. We're kind of hiding the entire cliffside, so it'll be impossible to tell in the future. Only we will know, and of course, no one cares about us. We are the outcasts, we are the banished, as it were. Just carry on like that. Yes, you get the idea. Make it into a square, so it's essentially, it looks like it's a floating platform, and then have all sorts of wildlife and stuff on there. Have the gatherers and the hunters and all sorts of stuff like that here, perhaps with a marketplace in the middle. But making this a little bit bigger, perhaps going out further, I'm not too sure. We could have one here, then, and oh, we could have two. That's actually not a terrible idea. Why not have two? One here, either with the same purpose or with a differing purpose. One could be a farm island, for instance, just throwing out ideas here to myself, and one could be the forest island. I'm not really too sure. But anyway, I'll be back in a second once I've completed this and started plans for actually making them a little bit more functional. Ooh, that needs to go in one. That's a bit too far out. I don't know how, and honestly I don't know why, but apparently one of the villagers at some point threw a stack of stone onto this island. But nonetheless, we now have 3 islands, even if I can't continue to completely build the wall around the third. One idea I have had now is to have the middle island here for homing, for houses, for markets, for all of that good stuff, and perhaps a bit of processing, and then having these 2 outer islands as either food reserves or forester and food reserves, having herbalists, the foresters to actually populate it with trees, gatherers and hunters, all collecting for the main island here, being quite efficient, and honestly, I think that would look quite cool, because it means there'd be a lot of activity in between the islands, and we can connect only the centre to the outside world quite easily, without having to worry about all the rest having connections. And they would even connect to quite good places, being the original village area and the blacksmithing area, which currently has no one working there. Hurrah for the gradual decline of our people. For the first time in a while, I will be accepting nomads into Lathsburg. It turns out the plateau was a little bit lower than expected, and our health has plummeted due to a lack of diversity in our food supply. So, welcome nomads! I hope you all find homes soon. Thankfully, we do have 3 town lodgings, which will soon take up most of them, but ultimately, they should find jobs within the new houses being built, new homes rather, within the houses being built. Although these 100 will be uneducated, their progeny will definitely not be. Welcome to the glorious, underpopulated land of Lathsburg. So let's go about and let's start getting all of our people, well, all of our food supply buildings back up and running, shall we? Just to add a bit of diversity to our food. Although we was not running out of food, our food went huge in autumn. It just was grinding our health down further and further and further, up until the point I was starting to worry about the efficiency of our workers. I can see so many mistakes I've done over the course of this playthrough, being, well, kind of light-hearted about how I built things, honestly just building things in specialised areas for fun and nothing more. I think in future series, if I do make another series on Banished after this one, which again is getting very close to an end, I think I'll be a bit more tactically diligent. I'll make sure I'm doing things correctly, actually look up guides, do all that sort of stuff, so we have a thriving, huge population, as opposed to my little pet city of Lathsburg. But the important thing, once again, is that I had fun. On the one hand, our health is finally increasing, we have more people to actually do the work, and our population overall is finally on a very steep incline. So soon it will increase to a level where everything is being worked before declining to a higher plateau. It turns out, over the course of this episode, I've built a grand total of 20 new homes. That is a lot of space for a lot of new people. On the other hand, things are on fire, and I also went through 2 more diseases. I had smallpox, and we had the measles. The smallpox coming, killing quite a few, then going away, and the measles lingering for a full season cycle. Not really killing many people, but ultimately being a bit of a hindrance. Currently, we actually do need to rebuild this hunting blind. We have capped out our hunters, so of course let's take away one of those. In fact, what we really should do is take away a lot of the hunters for labourers and other such things. If we had a quick look here, as you can see in our population graph, even before the nomads were here, it had finally plateaued, but now it's increasing massively. If we look at food, as you can see as well, since we've started sorting stuff out, every year now it's going to increase and increase and increase, and everything is better. Well, everything's going okay, it seems. Everything's kind of slowly increasing. I think the tornado just slowed down everything so much and kind of unraveled all of the major problems, such as the having no charcoal thing. I'm starting to think that the stacks burners are less good than I actually give them credit for, because I've never had so much issue when it comes to distributing and creating fuel as I have with charcoal. So I am going back to a bit of firewood now to see just how that does in comparison. Huzzah! Things are finally looking up for Latsburg. The bridges are finished to connect these two islands, and soon they shall also be finished between these. We have the dense orchard now active. It's been there for a full season cycle, so only a few more season cycles will remain until this is producing a ridiculous amount of food. And the little area over here is coming along nicely. In addition to all this, our populace is continuing to increase, and thus everything is finally getting back on track. I have blacksmiths once more, I have miners, everyone is going back to work, and the next plateau of population will be much higher than the last. Although this has been quite a difficult episode, it's been a long drawn out one in which I've had to watch a lot of nothing happen for quite some time. I think we're now safely back on track, and in the future, Latsburg is looking ever so bright. Eventually, of course, there'll be houses around here, there'll be stalls, this area here will be populated as well, thus increasing our maximum population after it plateaus again. Let's quickly go here, there we are. And, well, yeah, everything's just looking good, although by the looks of it, we may have actually hit a single plateau now, although saying that, houses are still being built, so that won't stay there for very long. Regardless, thank you so much for watching, Sir and Sirette. If you have enjoyed the episode, then of course, likes, favourites, shares, comments, all that good stuff helps out me, helps out the channel, and most importantly, shows that Banished is a series you wish to see continued in the future. I will say this, however, we are nearing the end. As soon as Latsburg is back on track and a bit more sustainable, mostly through just more houses and a little bit more fuel production, it's very, very close. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.